Welcome to the Beyond the Obvious podcast, where we dive into deep, thought-provoking interviews to provide you with strategies and practical tools for an optimistic future.
Welcome to the Beyond the Obvious podcast, where we share deep conversations.
Vítajte v Beyond the Obvious podcast. Moje jméno je Dana a jsem v Prahe.
Herzlich willkommen zum Beyond the Obvious Podcast, in dem wir tiefgreifende Konversationen teilen. Ich bin Elke aus Deutschland in der Nähe von Dortmund.
Today's guest is someone whose journey redefines what it means to rise, not just professionally, but personally and soulfully. We have Lawrence Tuazon with us. He's from Japan, so we had quite fun juggling our time zones. And he is a transformational coach, best-selling author, international speaker, and co-founder of Be Extraordinary Publishing. And after losing his leg in a life-threatening accident, he now helps others turn pain into purpose, build new careers, and thrive with extraordinary impact. So we are so excited and honored to have him here with us today. He is also a friend, a dear friend of each of ours, as we've had the pleasure of working together and coaching together.
Yeah, Lawrence, hello, welcome. And we understand that, you had this upswing in your life. You were soaring, and at the same time, there was some undercurrent, something that almost made you lose everything. Now, tell us a little bit more. What was your professional life like? What was your personal life like when the pressures of success almost cost you everything?
Yes, so from the outside, I was living the dream. I'm an immigrant here in Japan. I came from the Philippines, and I had risen to become department of head of a giant retail company here. It was a Cinderella story, if I can say that. And for me, I had the accolades, I had the promotions, what most people would call success. I had it. But behind the scenes, I was falling apart. I was working long hours, barely seeing my family, and neglecting my health and convincing myself that sacrificing everything was the only way to succeed. And the real wake up call came to me when I had the accident. A forklift crushed my leg, and that moment changed everything. I went from leading a team to lying in a hospital bed and facing amputation and asking myself, was this all worth it? I had ignored every red flag of my health, deteriorating. My marriage was strained, and I was losing myself in the hustle. That accident forced me to stop and confront the truth. I realized I was chasing a version of success that was costing me my health and my family and my peace.
Wow, listening to you is like, I had the pleasure to meet you in 3D, and now I'm listening to you, knowing that this was the foundation for everything that you build up. And was there a turning point in when your mindset shifted from survival? You spoke about the red flags to possibilities, and what tangible changes did you make after you created a healthier, this was a very important aspect, more aligned version of your definition of success?
Mm. Yes, so that moment came when I was sitting in the hospital bed, staring at the ceiling after my leg was amputated. I had lost my job, my career, my mobility, and almost all of the sense of identity. I felt defeated. I was in a survival mode, actually, numb, angry, and stuck in self pity every day. But one day, my daughter walked into the room, smiled at me, and said, "Daddy, let's play." I look at her and I realize she doesn't see what I've lost. She see what's still there. It's me. That was the spark. It shifted something deep inside of me. I stopped asking why me and start asking what now, right? That was the moment I chose possibility over pain and healing over hiding. I realized I had the choice.
Wow.
I could let this define me or could redefine everything. From there, I began making real practical changes. I invested in my health, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally. I joined personal growth platform and learn personal growth programs. Could find especially at health, right? I rebuilt my body through holistic health and rebuilt my spirit through meditation, journaling, mindset. And I started creating daily rituals that anchored me, like movement, reflection, gratitude. But I can say, Elke, the biggest shift is I stopped living to prove and I started living
Mm.
to serve.
Wow.
To serve my daughter, to serve my family, who's the only treasure that left to me at that moment. I realigned my definition of success to no longer based on status or speed of how fast I can reach there, but on sustainability, joy, and impact.
Wow, that is so powerful. And I can only imagine what that transition time was like. And, speaking about that, stillness is something that a lot of people resist. Yet for you, it seems
Mm,
that it became a doorway of sorts. So, what did you begin to notice or connect with when
mm,
everything got quiet? Or, in other words, how did slowing down perhaps change the way you related to yourself and to life?
mm. Yeah. Yeah. So absolutely, you're right there, Julie. Like stillness is uncomfortable, especially when you're spend your life moving fast, like me, like I was, chasing goals, defining your worth by productivity. That's something like, you're productive, success, something like that, right? But when I forced to slow down and when God, the universe forced me to slow down, after the accident, after the amputation, I had no choice but to sit with myself. And in that stillness, something sacred happened. At first, the quiet was deafening, and I had to face emotion I had buried under me, grief, anger, guilt, shame. But once the noise of the world died down inside of me, I began hearing something much deeper, my own truth. It was silence. I realized that my entire life had been about doing more to feel like I was enough. But in the stillness, I started to feel a new kind of presence, a connection to who I really was without the titles, without the doing, because we're in the doing, right? I reconnected with my values, with my family, and with the present moment. I started noticing small, beautiful things I used to rush past because I was always in the go-go. I started to notice my daughter's laughter, the way the sun poured through the window, the weather, the gift that I'm simply breathing. Slowing down allowed me to shift from striving to being. So stillness taught me that success is not always about acceleration. It's not about how fast you go. Sometimes it's about recalibration. It changed the way I saw everything. I stopped measuring life by how much I could achieve, but I started measuring it how deeply I could connect to myself, to others, to my purpose, and I believe that's what truly makes life extraordinary.
So you told us already what happened. You told us about how incredibly this shifted your whole perspective about life and about how to live it really fully. Now, could you please also share about your strategies and maybe techniques that helps you to take back agency over your body that has changed, that has been different?
Yeah. So losing my leg, felt like I lost a part of who I was. Everything that was made me feel strong, my mobility, independence, even confidence was stripped away. I was grieving every day, not just because it's not just a limb, but the life I thought I had built, before losing it. So at first I was drowning in a question like why me and will I ever be the same again? At some point I realized that I am waiting to feel normal again was, keeping me stuck. I had to stop waiting and start rebuilding. The first tool that saved me was radical acceptance. That didn't mean giving up, right? Like surrender. No, it meant like just telling the truth. My body had changed, yes, but that didn't mean my story had to end there. In fact, it gave me a new story, one that could be even more powerful. I started by shifting my mindset from I'm broken to I'm rebuilding, right? Then I got to work on my body, my mind, my soul. Basically, I embraced the strength training because I needed to lose some weight during that time, which helped me. Strength training helped me regain strength in my whole new way, and mentally, I immersed myself through personal growth, meditation, journaling, gratitude, and spiritually, I anchored myself into the new purpose that I found. One of the biggest strategies that helped me was taking my power back. I define it as, the real turning point was, taking this power. I could not change what had happened. I lost my leg. I couldn't put it back, but I could decide what happened next after that. That choice to rise, to rebuild, and to live with purpose became the foundation of everything I've created since then. So honestly, my body might look different, but my spirit is stronger than ever. I stopped chasing the old version of me and started just creating an upgrade version, I call, if I can say that, right? So it can be, the one that a wiser Lawrence, more deeper, more compassionate. And for me, that's the gift, right? My adversity, the challenge that gave me. And Dana, I believe that's why I'm here now. Maybe I would like to remind people that no matter what they've lost, there's always something greater to build with. Yeah.
Lawrence, I had so much goosebumps listening to you, and let's um, let's go to the grief, because all stories are connected, and maybe someone in the audience needs to hear something about grief. And grief can be very heavy and isolating. This is what you spoke about. This is what I can completely relate, because the same experience in the hospital, feeling very alone in these situations. And it can also be an accelerator when once the spark, and you also spoke about the spark of hope, is there. What helped you, besides the words and the recognition of your daughter, to find meaning in this physical loss or in the situation? Something which could be the spark for someone in our audience today.
Yeah, so my daughter really gave me the inspiration to tap into to the power of acceptance. But grief was the weight I never trained for. It wasn't just about losing my leg. It felt like it was the identity loss, the future I thought I had, the routines, and even the people looked at me. At first I felt invisible, and then painfully visible because of the physical, right? And grief made me want to disappear. It was heavy for me. I silent and incredibly isolating. Like I made this invisible fear. I made this invisible fear. But what helped me hold on to hope was realizing that grief is love, right? I can explain it with, love with nowhere to go, because you have to face yourself with that emotion. So I gave it, right? So I gave it to, to myself. I started by letting myself feel it, all of it. I didn't pretend to be strong. I cried, I journaled, I prayed, I asked for help. to my wife, to the nurse, and when I was in the hospital. And slowly I found meaning in the pain by sharing my story to, to some fellow patients inside the hospital, to my friends, and and then publicly, when I got out in the hospital, every time I open up, someone else would say me too. That, when they're not amputees, but they felt the same, the same feeling. That's, when I knew that I wasn't alone, when I was sharing in this kind of Zoom, that I'm sharing my experience. And when they say, when they agree, or it doesn't necessarily that they agree, but when I just had this nudge to them, I felt connected, I felt accepted. And what truly anchored me was, love, with my, like, going back to my daughters, her hug, my wife's unwavering presence. I couldn't, like, she's the most she's one of the, I can say, the best decision that I ever made in my life, just, proposing and marrying her. And the way my family never looked at me as I was broken, I can say. They saw me and reminded me that my wholeness wasn't tied to any body parts, right? I still had a heart and I still had a voice, and I found a new mission. That's what helped me move forward, realizing I could still serve them and start with them. I could still rise and I could still inspire others, not despite my loss, but because of how I chose to live through it. And grief didn't disappear, but I learned to walk with it and eventually to let it walk beside hope, right? And that's where I found healing. That's where I found the new meaning that I can live my life.
Wow, Lawrence, that is so deeply meaningful and powerful. And everything you just explained, it's like those experiences, what happened physically reshaped the outside first, but then ended up reshaping you from the inside out. And, just curious, you've shared a lot about the strength and the gifts and the meaning that came from the experience of losing your leg. But when you look back at all of it, was there anything that was completely unexpected? Maybe an unexpected gift or an unexpected turn in your story?
Yeah. A beautiful question, Julie. And I think it's so true. I can say that, the deepest transformation are the ones no one sees at first, right? If you can agree with me. Because this experience didn't just reshape me, it re re-altered me. It stripped away the noise, the ego that I feel like I'm constantly, under that noise, that ego, that pressure, just to prove something in the world. And I thought I was born to do that. And in that rawness, I uncovered some of the most unexpected and powerful gift of my life. One of the greatest gift, if I can share here, right, was a deep empathy. Before the accident, I could motivate people, but now I can meet people and connect with them in their pain, in their fear, in their stuck places. I understand what it means to lose something precious and to rebuild from rock bottom, because that's where I came. That's made me a better coach, a better speaker, a better human, a better father and husband. I don't just speak about transformation. I can say I embody it. Another gift was true presence, because before the accident, I was everywhere. I was everywhere. Before, I was always chasing the next win, the next milestone, the next recognition. Now I've learned to slow down, breathe deeper, enjoy the moment, and fully live the moment I'm in. A simple walk, a simple smile from other people, a quiet sunrise. I get to appreciate simple things. And these aren't just background noise anymore for me. I can say they are sacred, right? And most of all, I gain a sense of unshakable purpose. I stopped asking, what do I want to achieve? And started asking, who do I want to become? that shift changed everything. My work became more aligned, my relationship grew stronger, and my impact deepened. Not because I was trying harder, but because I was living true. So yes, I can say I lost a leg, but I gained so much. I gained something even more powerful: clarity, courage, and calling to help others rise from their own moments of loss. And to me, that trade that gave life a whole new meaning for me.
It's really impactful to listen to you. And what I was reflecting on is how we all are wired to carry heaviness so much better when we are connecting with others, right? How your family, you spoke about how your family actually was a big part of this process to shift, to change, to completely reconsider how you live. Now, how did that inform, besides empathy that you mentioned already, how did that inform how you lead nowadays and how you connect with people?
So, with empathy, like what I said from empathy, like it makes me more feel to connect with people because it's not more of me always go 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 or trying to reach for anything, but it's more of me connecting deeper to a person. It's like not more about me trying to read many books, but more of me trying to look deeper of what this book can really bring me to. So it's more of me connecting deeper rather just an acquaintance, or rather than just carried away by some intention, but it's more of growing, more connecting to more deeper, and more I can say more genuine connection, because I can say it's not about like how many people we connected or how many friends I have, but it's more of about what did I do together with that person, right? Did I make something incredible, or did I just impact their health or their mindset, or yeah. So for me, it's more of connecting more deeper with empathy, with true, and with 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 intention that we want to uplift each other.
Deep hell yes to everything you say. And um, there's one aspect I thought maybe it's repetitive, but I think it's not, because family can be a lifeline. You mentioned the impact of the family, your daughters, everyone around you, and they knew the Lawrence before, the go 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 one, the motivator, but not the one who meets. But was there a moment that you will never forget where their love helped to remember your real strength? Because it seems to be the real you that you uncovered right now. Was there a moment?
Yeah, there's a lot of moment, but if I will choose, I was in the hospital weeks after the accident, and I just come out of another surgery because I had 10 surgeries, right? And I then out from the surgery, and the doctor were gently preparing me for what I didn't want to hear, and he just said that, the last way for you to live better is to have an amputation. And I was exhausted, I was broken and angry, hearing that. And I felt it like a burden, like honestly, I didn't want anyone to see me like that. But my daughter was there, and she was small, just a little girl, just 2 years old. And he just climbed and just hugged me and looked me in the eye, and said, "Daddy, why are you crying?" And I broke. In that moment, she wasn't looking at, right, what I had lost, and she just looking at me crying, and she was, still there. And her love for me, through through that, gave me this strength to face it. It was in, it was she was just little, but it it's just a pure of love that felt, when she hugged me and say just really caring for me. And that moment it flipped the switch for me, and I realized I still had everything that mattered for me. And her love, the purpose, the reason to fight, because back then I chose to take the long road and do everything just to save my leg. And because I when I and saving my leg was, for me, was like something that I could not pass on, or I could not, I want to do everything just to save it. And yeah. Mm.
I think that's just so beautiful. And especially at the age of 2, it's innocence and
Mm.
purity and just love. And I think, that's something that we've touched on before and we keep coming back to in almost every conversation is the disconnection.
Mm.
So many people in the world and society have been experiencing disconnection from self, from each other. And we have discovered, especially through your story, that it truly matters to have connection, to have others to carry us through hard times and challenges. And you mentioned when you were in the hospital that you were asking for help from the nurses, from your family. And I think so many people in today's society really struggle to ask for help, to ask for what they need. And after your experience, can you share with the audience how you feel about asking for help and maybe something that might inspire others to feel more comfortable doing so?
Yeah, so that, Julie, like, at first, before, I used to think asking for help was weakness. Because I'm the guy, I can do everything, right? I was the guy who handled everything. And the one people turned to, not one who needed support, right? I was the one always giving. But when life brought me to this experience, when I could not walk, I could not work, I could not even put on my prosthetic leg back then, I had no choice but to let others in. And I learned it the hard way, if I can say that. And here's what I learned from other things here is asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom. It's an act of courage to say, I cannot do this alone, because truthfully, none of us were meant to. We are thriving individuals, right? And we're wired for connection, for community, for carrying each other when the weight is too heavy to carry alone, right? So when I finally let my walls down, when I was recovering in the hospital, and I allowed people, I allowed my family, my friends to support me, something beautiful happened. I stopped feeling like a burden, right? I started feeling like I belong. I was accepted. And that is so important. I realized that love is not just something you give, it's something you have to receive too. In receiving it, that is a healing that starts within me. I think it's one of the most purest form, when you started to allow yourself to receive something. To anyone who listen or feels like they have to be strong one, all of the time, I want to say this, that strength isn't always about standing tall. Sometimes it's in the reaching out, sometimes it's the surrender, sometimes it's just your vulnerable honesty, that I need your help, not falling behind, but it's about, it is rising in a new way, right? So asking for help gave me, my life back, or my support. And today I lead and live with this belief that we rise together higher, and let others carry, your you for for a while. It will not be forever that you will be carried carried by by others, but sometimes you need to say help, and because one day you'll be the one lifting someone else, right? And that what makes this human journey so powerful, because we help each other.
I think that's so beautiful. And it's true that we are stronger together. And I think having permission to start to melt the disconnection and elevate each other is such a powerful
Mm.
message and such a personal one for you. And obviously, there aren't any accidents in life. Sometimes things happen to us because it's our soul's
Mm.
plan and purpose, and it's guiding us toward our destiny. So what do you feel through everything that you've been through and who you are now? What have you come to understand about really your role in this world through your journey?
Mm. So when I lost my leg, the part of me, it felt like, for me, it's like I've taken a detour from the life I was building, like successful career, achievements, and I thought, I realized that I didn't I realized that the detour was the path, and it stripped away everything that was in the surface level and pointed me to straight towards this, to my new purpose that I found. Um Here, like, disability, if you allow me to say that, my disability forced me to stop striving or and start seeing myself, my family, and the world around me in a way that I never had before. It taught me that life isn't about how fast I can do it, or how high I can climb, or how I can faster get to success. It's about how deeply I can live, how fully I can show up, and how courageously I can serve. Right. So I used to think my role in the world was to succeed, right? And I don't want everyone to lose their leg and experience this experience that I had. But I realized my true role is to inspire people, because I'm giving this. I had this. God in the universe gave me this gift to inspire, and I feel that this is a calling for me. Like, my disability gives me the ability to inspire and touch other people's lives. So my story, my scars, my struggle, my healing, it became the bridge for me that connects me to the people, and talk them heart to heart. And that's where, I think the real work happens. I understand that, I wasn't here just to overcome. I was here to lead from, what I overcome, and share my experience to help others rise from their detours, and to show that brokenness does not mean you're disqualify us, or right, but it equips you as to be the light for someone else. They can be in the darkness, and what looked like a detour ended up unlocking my new destiny. And now I walk this path with renewed sense of purpose, gratitude, and belief that most extraordinary lives are born not in spite of the detour, but because of it. This is the way. Yeah.
That's true. A lot of what you said. It's clear that the connection with people is very quickly established through your very authentic vulnerability. So, first of all, thank you for
Mhm.
being as authentic as you are.
Thank
But
you.
I wonder, Lawrence, because there's many people still who see, let's say, disability as a barrier or a limitation. How do you manage to flip that narrative with them when you are connecting with them?
Mm. That's a great question, Dana. I can say a lot of people first look at me and saw limitations, especially when I was in the hospital recovering. Right? They say, "Is it painful?" And honestly, for a while, I can say it's painful. But losing my leg felt like also losing my power. But the truth is, the only thing more painful than my state back then or my injury was believing that I lost my power, that I was somehow, less because of it, right? And I had a choice. I could either accept the narrative that I was broken or incomplete, or I could rewrite it. And that's exactly what I did. I stopped focusing on what I could not do. Right? Back then, I couldn't run or I couldn't drive a car, but I started building on what I could. I retrained my body. I rebuilt my mindset. I focused on what I can improve. I reconnected with my voice, and in that process, I discovered something powerful. My disability didn't limit me; it rebuilt me. It showed me my strength, my resilience, my capacity to lead, to feel, and to serve others. I began to understand that the very thing the world might label as weakness was actually my superpower, because it gave me depth, it gave me empathy, it gave me a message that could reach people who feel like life has disqualified them. So I turned my pain into something like a platform. I made my journey the foundation of work, coaching others through transformation, speaking on acceptance, and showing up as a living proof that you can lose something significant or a part of you and still gain everything that matters, right? So today, I walk not with limitation, but with a mission. And every step is powered by the belief that adversity doesn't break us. It builds the kind of strength that inspires others and the world.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. And there's something coming up right now. You spoke about your rituals, the shift of your mindset and everything. And I love this, from limitation to a mission,
Mhm.
and from limitation to seeing possibilities. And what advice would you give someone who did not pass the bridge to seeing the possibilities, but still seeing the limitations? And someone who's really struggling to see the challenge that they are facing right now as part of their path, and as something
Mhm.
that this quote, everything happens for a reason, maybe describe.
Mm. Yeah, so here's my advice. I can say, don't try to make sense of the whole path right now, whether you
Mm.
struggle or whether you are winning, whether you are in this part of your life. I can say, we just honor where we are, where you are. Ask yourself, what is this challenge here to teach me? Or what is this winning feeling trying to teach me? Because it's not always the challenge, but also there's always also find a learning through winning, right? And who am I becoming through it? Because the truth is, the very thing you think disqualifies you with that challenge, you might be the thing that qualifies you to do something extraordinary. In my part, maybe that leg disqualifies me, but I gain something that qualifies me to talk about it and to share it and to use it to touch people with my stories, right? and and I can say, I think the mindset of, like, every limit is an invitation to grow, to create, to lead, to serve. I think if we don't feel limit or we don't feel challenge, it's hard for us to grow. It's hard for us to create, to lead, to serve. But this is an invitation for us. That belief keeps me going. And this belief also lets me see light where others maybe see darkness, and we can guide them to show the light, for them to see the light. And I promise you, once you find that spark, the light, you'll never see your life the same way again, because you just keeps on improving, you just keep on leading, and the love that you will receive will lead you to to a better place.
As I was listening to you, what popped in my mind was once I was told, when you outgrow your playground, find a different game.
Mm.
And that I think was prominent in what you were saying. And not only you found a new game, but you actually created a platform for others. So that's beautiful. And I believe part of that platform has something to do with the books that I see behind you. So if our listeners are watching, they will see all these beautiful books from the extraordinary publishing that you founded. Can you tell us more about how your mission, your personal purpose is connected with business mission? How are you watching strategically that you don't get lost again in that performance drive of business?
Yeah, so I'm also a coach, but I had this also a different passion about helping others tell their stories. And the company Be Extraordinary Publishing wasn't just built from ambition. We have two founders here. It was born from a calling to turn pain into purpose, stories into platform, and ordinary people into extraordinary messengers of change. It all started when I accept my physical, my new physical looks, and maybe the disability. And when I started sharing this to everyone, it leads to accountability, it leads to a community, it leads to a friendship. And by sharing my story, I started to see the power of it. And the strategy behind Be Extraordinary Publishing is actually, storytelling. It's actually very human. It's to help people realize that their story matters. And I believe every one of us has a beautiful story to share. Not only that, it can move the world. It can create a spark of change. We're not just in the business of publishing books. We're in the business of activating voices, elevating thought leaders, and guiding authors to step into, to their role as change makers. Yeah, because we don't see authors as an authors. You're a change makers, and our approach is simple. We don't just ask, "What's your book about?" Right? We ask, "Who is this book meant to transform?" And how does this story align with your mission? Because we don't see the book as the end goal. We see is at the means to the end goal. That where's the alignment and the intersection of the story, the service, right? And to keep everything aligned with this mission, Carrie Fisher, my business partner, and I are obsessed with two things: just integrity and impact. We check constantly, not just with our team but with our authors, about whether what we're creating is rooted in truth, value, and legacy, because we are more specialized with self-help books, and we want the message to be deepened. And we see every project as part of a bigger something that can ripple effect, that can change lives and reshape conversation, can heal communities, can move the world. And of course, we led by example. I didn't just publish a book, I live it. And every principles I teach, every author I coach, every stage I speak, it all reflects the journey I've walked through. It can be repetitive that, I lost a leg, but I feel that there's a power from there. And that's how we keep in the publishing, grounded in purpose, because we're not building a brand, we're building a movement. And this isn't just a company, it's a mission for me, a mirror, or I can say a megaphone for the voices the world needs to hear. And that's how I know we're exactly where we're meant to be with this one. And I'm so grateful that 2 years ago Dana and Elkie co-authored a coaching book with me. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
You already answered a part of my question to give the megaphone to other people to let them know that they are extraordinary. That's a beautiful picture. And can you maybe share one story from your publishing journey that still gives you goosebumps to let our audience get a kind of idea what happens when you are the publisher and support someone to grab the megaphone and shout out loud what they want to share?
So one story that still moves me deeply is from an author who come into our program feeling invisible. Like she had survived a trauma. She had never shared it publicly, and she didn't believe that her story matters. And but through the process, and she began writing from the place of raw truth. And when her book launched, the response was floodedly in. One reader messaged her saying, your words saved my life, and I thought I was alone until I read your story. That moment, that impact, that feedback from her is why we do this, because when someone tells their truth, it gives others permission to heal. It gives other permission to tell their story, to speak and to rise. And I think that's the ripple effect. That's how we change the world. So yes, I believe with very that I believe that we are extraordinary. And when it's perfect, right, when you feel that this perfect feeling to share, no one can stop you. So I believe that we in the publishing, we welcome, and we don't label people by their backgrounds or what they're doing, but we just want to hear their story. And with that, like, just accepting them from they are, and just giving them confidence that they can share. It's really impactful that they can create not just a book, but we all say it's a movement.
Wow, that's incredible and so inspiring. And if you could leave the audience today with one message or practical tool, what might that be?
Mm. If I could deliver one message, I can say, you are not broken, or you are not incomplete. You are being rebuilt. Whatever you're facing right now, maybe it's pain, loss, fear, or uncertainty, it's not the end of your story. I didn't finish when I was in the hospital, right? We can say it's a new chapter. It's a chapter, not it's not the whole book that you are, that it's the end. It's only the chapter, right? And if you cannot see it yet, what's the road is taking you with this challenge, can say something extraordinary is being shaped inside of you right now, right? Maybe it's the strength, maybe it's the clarity, maybe it's a new purpose. So if I could leave you with one practical tool, something simple, but can spark something there inside of you, it will be, ask yourself each morning, what's one small thing I can do today to honor the version of me I'm becoming? It's not about, you become a hero or something like, can change the world, not something big, but what you feel when you are, hearing this question, that can be the perfect answer. Not the perfect version, but not, and not the fixed one, just just the becoming version of what you feel, right? Whether it's, moving your body, or reaching out to for a support, or maybe just saying sorry to someone, or journaling one honest sentence, or simply taking a deep breath, or and choosing not to give up, right? I think that's the most important thing, that one small act builds momentum. And that's how I rebuilt my life, one small decision at a time. And if I can, if I can rise from that lowest point, from that rock bottom, from loss, from starting over, or in a completely different body and mindset, then of course, so you can. And not just to survive, but of course to soar. And you are already there, you are already extraordinary, you are thriving, then you realize and just keep going. The world is waiting for you to rise. And yeah, and you will be there. Thank you.
That's so beautiful. Thank you, Lawrence. And I have had the pleasure of knowing Lawrence for years now, and every single thing you're hearing, he is living. He is the most calm presence to be around. He truly lives in the present moment. He's a fantastic human being. So if you are looking to share your story, to find your voice for a transformational coach or for a fantastic speaker, Lawrence, where can people find you and follow your work?
Yes, so you can find me at our website, the beextraordinarypublishing.com. And yeah, I'm active in Instagram at Lawrence Tuazon. Yeah, and yeah, then I'll meet you there. Thank you, Julie.
Yes, and we'll put those links below as well so that you can easily find Lawrence. And Lawrence, thank you again. Thank you
Thank you
for
so much.
showing us that adversity doesn't
Mm.
end with our story, that it can actually write the most extraordinary chapters. And your courage, your honesty, and your purpose-driven life reminds us that what seems like the end is often just the beginning of something deeper, something more aligned, something more powerful. So to our listeners, if you've been moved today by this episode, please share it with someone who needs to hear this message. You never know who's waiting for the reminder that their stories matter and that their next chapter can be the most powerful one yet. And also, please remember to subscribe, like, and click that bell if you want to be notified of future episodes. Thank you.
Ďakujeme a tešíme sa na budúce vo Welcome in the Obvious.
Vielen Dank fürs Zuhören. Wir hoffen, dass du viel rausgenommen hast für dich und wir sehen uns und hören uns in der nächsten Beyond the Obvious Episode. Bis dann.
Thank you, and see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Beyond the Obvious podcast. Did our messages resonate with you? Share it with others. Subscribe, like, and click that bell to be notified of the next episode.